Our next presenter is another person who works in the clinical world, Cheryl. Our next speaker is Cheryl Smith. Cheryl is a licensed independent clinical social worker and a certified oncology social worker. And she works for Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center here in Fargo. And Cheryl has worked in oncology for 20 years. She has lots of experience to share with us. And she has a great title too, The Me in Melanoma. I love it. So please go ahead, Cheryl, and present your.
Well, thank you so much. Like Pam said, my name is Cheryl Smith, and I have been a social worker for 20 years. And only about the last 4.5 years have I done therapy. So my first 8 years, I was a bachelor's level social worker. And then I got my master's degree. And the last almost 5 years, I've been doing this. So I'm pretty much a newbie in this world, but I have a lot of oncology experience. So hopefully I can share some information with you. I'm going to share my screen and my PowerPoint. Hopefully it'll work. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we are seeing it. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so the Me and Melanoma, the reason I chose that title was actually because when I was asked to do this talk, I reached out to one of the survivors that I've worked with in the past, and he gave me some really good information about what he thought would be important to hear. So some of this is from him, some of this is from just my clinical and years of experience, and then some of this is actually related to even my own family experience. So the Me and Melanoma, you know, the joke is that, or saying is that there's no I in team, but there is a me in melanoma. And we know, like Brian said, that melanoma just doesn't affect yourself, but it affects your family. It also affects your community, your coworkers. And so there is, you know, a we in cancer, but today I want to talk about the me. And primarily when I was talking to the survivor, what we talked about was how to try to keep yourself, not become a cancer patient, but to keep yourself as a person going through cancer. So I actually use the melanoma words and as part of my title. And I also used it as an acronym for some of the things we're going to talk about. So the me, the M in melanoma, don't lose touch of you. I think this is really important to keep the part of your life because you are still who you are. You may have a diagnosis that is impacting your life, but it is still you. So try to keep in touch with who you are throughout this. So that might be, again, doing things that you've done before in the past, not just ignoring things that brought you joy. So a lot of things I'm going to talk about really when we talk about the me is having some good self-care. And this can also be, as we were talking about, as Brian was talking about, having the caregivers have good self-care too, because when you're both taking care of yourself, then you actually have more compassion and you have more empathy for each other, and you can have more, you know, when we don't take care of ourselves, we tend to get more irritated and more frustrated. So I got to keep track of the time too. So the M, keep up with activities you did prior to the cancer diagnosis. Now, not everybody might be a golfer, but that's my example here is if you like to golf and things have changed because you've gone through treatment, you're more tired, you can still golf, but you might need to do it differently. Maybe you don't walk 18 holes. Maybe you don't do 18 holes. Maybe you do 9 holes. If even that's too much, maybe you ride the cart and you do 2 holes and then you work yourself up. So my Uncle Dick, he was diagnosed with melanoma. He was actually a lineman for AT&T or Bell's back in the day in Florida. So he would out there working on the line quite a bit, but he loved his football games, and especially the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is back when they were good. And so he would go to the football games, and sometimes, it would take a day or two afterwards out of him, but for him it was so worth it to keep his daily activity and things that he liked to do. So try to keep up with the activities and hobbies. This is really good for your physical health, but also your emotional health and well-being. And it might look different. And that's where we get careful about comparing ourselves to what we were like before this happened. Like Brian noted, the caregivers are a huge part. So everyone is around you is affected, but you yourself are responsible for your own emotions. So I loved when Brian said his advice was to find somebody to talk to. And that doesn't mean it has to be somebody like me. Sometimes I'm helpful, but I think you just have to have a trusted confidant. I think the hard thing with around here, I've noticed, I'm actually from the East Coast originally. So I've lived here though almost 30 years. So I guess I can say I'm from here now. I don't know. Anyways, but is that when somebody wants to talk to you about something and it's a difficult subject, sometimes they'll say, oh, don't think like that. Everything will be okay. Well, what happened is they just slammed the door on you being able to talk about things. And we know in therapy that what we avoid persists. So just like when you feel anxious or scared or nervous, it's okay to talk about it, and then you can process it and let it go. You can move through it. So if you're a caregiver, to allow that space to be had if you feel comfortable. But if you can't talk about it with your caregiver or your family member, find a trusted confidant that you can and learn how to process those emotions. So now we'll go to the L. So the L is learn. Learn some strategies that can help with coping with stress. Like, this is a really stressful time. No matter where you're at, if you've already had cancer and gone through it and you're in remission and survivorship, or if you're going through treatments, it's a really stressful time. And what we know about stress is it impacts our immune functioning. So it's important to learn ways to manage stress and decrease our stress response. So some simple things that people can do are some breathing strategies, because breath actually decreases our stress response and increases our relaxation response. If you're interested in these, there's lots of apps out there. You can get a lot of information on YouTube also. So you can Google breathing, relaxation, meditation. All of these are really good strategies for coping with stress. Distraction is a good temporary solution, but it's not a long-term solution for coping with stress or stressors. So now we'll go to the A. And the A is ask for help when you need it. I think Brian made a good point about how hard it is. And I find that around here. But what I also want the other A to be is not just to ask for help, but to allow help, because there's so many people who want to help you. And when I meet with patients, I will ask them, like, well, how did it feel when you help somebody? And they'll say, oh, it feels so good. So when you allow help, you actually allow those people to feel good about themselves. So that's really important. And I just remember my mom, this was Uncle Dick was my mom's brother, and my mom wanting to go help him and him allowing her to come down to Florida and stay with him. And we were just talking about some of those stories the other day and how special that was for her. So the N is nourish your soul. So again, that might look different for other people. Some might mean it might mean spirituality and prayer. Some might mean music or reading, and some it might mean just laughter. I loved my Uncle Dick had the best jokes and stories of his career, and he would just make us laugh. I still remember him telling a story when I was at the lake one day, and I wasn't there. I was upstairs in the bedroom, and I had just woken up, and I could hear everybody laughing. And that just made my heart just feel so good. And I had to run downstairs and find out what was happening. But find ways to bring energy into your life and nourish your soul. O is observe how things feel around you, how you feel. So we need to slow down. We're such busy people, and we need to slow down, kind of figure out, what am I thinking? How am I feeling? And what can I do with that? I know that we sometimes talk about days, like I've had a bad day or a good day. I want you to learn how to break those down into moments. Sit with that moment, feel it, and then, you know what? The next moment, I'm going to be different. The next moment's going to be positive. The next moment, I'm going to go do something that makes me happy. Meet with others who understand. When I was talking to the survivor who I reached out to about that, one of the things he said was most helpful was talking to other melanoma survivors and having them give him some hope. And I appreciated Brian saying, stay off the internet. I do that with patients too. I say, don't look at the internet. The internet doesn't know you. Your provider knows you, so talk to them. So meet with others who understand and talk with them. And lastly, the adjust. So adjust, just like the boat here. Sometimes it's smooth sailing, you're feeling pretty good, and things are going really well. You've gotten good scans. And then sometimes it's more choppy, right? And you're still trying to get over to that island, but you have to adjust the sails. You have to kind of figure out a new way to get over there. And those can be, again, hopefully moments and not whole days. But this is a really stressful thing, being diagnosed with cancer, living with cancer, surviving cancer. Just like Brian said, there's still fear even as a survivor. So hopefully some of these skills can help manage these fears and worries. And this is just a review. Again, remember the me. Remember that I am not a cancer patient. I'm a person who has lived or survived with cancer. So keep doing the activities and hobbies you enjoy, even if it's something different. You got to figure out a different way to do it. Know that everyone is affected, but you yourself are responsible for your own emotions. So find different ways to express emotions. Learn strategies to help to cope with stress. Ask and more importantly, allow others to help. Nourish your soul. Observe how you feel. Slow things down once in a while. When you're feeling anxious, figure out why you feel anxious. What was I thinking? What is happening? Oh, that's right. I have the scans coming up. I'll deal with that when they come. And then meet with others and adjust your sails. Thank you for allowing me to come. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. That was really wonderful. I love mnemonics, and I think that will help a lot of folks to really think about caring for themselves. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah.